In the heart of 15th century Italy, a time of profound transformation was unfolding. The air was thick with curiosity, invention, and the rediscovery of knowledge that had lain dormant for centuries. It was a period known as the Renaissance, a rebirth that would not only reshape the contours of art and science, but also redefine what it meant to be human. At the center of this extraordinary era stood a figure whose very name has become synonymous with genius: Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo's story begins in the small Tuscan town of Vinci, nestled amid rolling hills and olive groves. Born in 1452, Leonardo was the illegitimate son of a notary, Ser Piero, and a peasant woman named Caterina. Despite the circumstances of his birth, Leonardo's early life was marked by a restless intellect and an insatiable curiosity that would lead him far beyond the bounds of his humble origins. From a young age, he was fascinated by the natural world, by the flutter of a bird's wings, the ripple of water, the anatomy of plants and animals. This innate fascination would form the foundation of a life devoted to observation, experimentation, and the relentless pursuit of knowledge. The world into which Leonardo was born was itself in the midst of a dramatic transformation. The Renaissance was, at its core, a revival, a return to the wisdom of the ancient Greeks and Romans, whose works had been preserved, translated, and now reinterpreted in the light of new discoveries. Across the city-states of Italy, from Florence and Venice to Rome and Milan, artists, thinkers, and patrons were forging a new vision of the world, one that placed human beings, with all their potential and complexity, at the very center of creation. Florence was the beating heart of this intellectual and artistic awakening. Under the patronage of powerful families like the Medici, the city became a crucible for talent, attracting painters, sculptors, architects, poets, and philosophers from across Europe. It was here, in the bustling workshops and shadowed corridors of Florence, that Leonardo would find his first true mentors and his earliest opportunities to shine. As a teenager, Leonardo was apprenticed to Andrea del Verrocchio, one of Florence's foremost artists and craftsmen. In Verrocchio's studio, Leonardo learned the fundamentals of painting, sculpture, and mechanical design. He honed his skills by mixing pigments, preparing canvases, and studying the delicate interplay of light and shadow. It was said that Verrocchio's own hand faltered when he saw the angel Leonardo painted in the baptism of Christ. So dazzling was the young apprentice's talent, so fresh and vivid his vision. Yet Leonardo was restless, even as he dazzled those around him. For him, art was not merely a craft, but an investigation, a way to understand the deepest mysteries of the world. He filled page after page of his notebooks with meticulous sketches and observations, dissecting cadavers to learn the secrets of anatomy, devising fantastical machines, and pondering the laws that governed the movement of water and air. His relentless curiosity drove him to question everything, to look beyond the surface of things, and to seek the underlying principles that bound the universe together. It was this unique blend of artistic mastery and scientific inquiry that set Leonardo apart from his contemporaries. While other painters strove for beauty and harmony, Leonardo sought truth. His portraits revealed not only the outward likeness of his subjects, but also the subtle play of emotions and thoughts that flickered behind their eyes. In works like the Mona Lisa, he captured the enigmatic depths of the human soul, rendering flesh and spirit with a delicacy and precision that had never before been seen. But Leonardo's genius was not confined to the easel. He was an inventor, an engineer, and, in many ways, a futurist. His notebooks teem with designs for flying machines, armored vehicles, hydraulic pumps, and mechanical automata, many of which would not become reality for centuries. He studied the mechanics of flight by observing birds, speculating on the possibility of human-powered flight long before the Wright brothers took to the skies. He mapped the flow of rivers, designed ideal cities, and investigated the properties of light and optics. For Leonardo, there were no boundaries between art and science, no walls between imagination and reality. The Renaissance itself was marked by this spirit of synthesis, a blending of disciplines that encouraged the free exchange of ideas. Artists learned from mathematicians, Architects consulted with engineers. Poets drew inspiration from philosophy and history. This cross-pollination of knowledge was fueled by the spread of the printing press, which enabled the rapid circulation of books and ideas throughout Europe. In this fertile environment, a figure like Leonardo could thrive, his talents nurtured by a culture that prized innovation and intellectual daring. Leonardo's career was as varied as his interests. He served as a military engineer for the Duke of Milan, designing fortifications and weapons of war, even as he painted some of his most celebrated masterpieces. He worked for the powerful Borgia family, drawing maps and conducting research that blended art and espionage. He spent his later years in Rome and France, supported by patrons who prized his wisdom and ingenuity. Throughout his life, he remained a consummate observer, endlessly fascinated by the interconnectedness of all things. The Renaissance was, in many ways, a time of paradox, an age of dazzling creativity and brutal conflict, of spiritual longing and earthly ambition. It was an era that witnessed the flowering of art and literature, the rise of powerful city-states, and the emergence of humanism, a philosophy that celebrated the dignity and potential of the individual. At the heart of this movement was the belief that human beings, through reason and effort, could unlock the secrets of the universe and shape their own destinies. Leonardo embodied these ideals as few others could. In his art, he captured the beauty and complexity of the natural world, rendering landscapes and figures with a sensitivity and subtlety that still astonish viewers centuries later. In his scientific pursuits, he challenged conventional wisdom, devising experiments and making discoveries that would influence generations of thinkers. His notebooks, filled with sketches, diagrams, and cryptic notes written in mirror script, offer a window into a mind that never ceased to wonder, to question, to seek new horizons. The impact of Leonardo and the Renaissance cannot be overstated. The advances in perspective, anatomy, and the use of light and shadow revolutionized the art of painting, setting new standards for realism and emotional depth. The blending of artistic and scientific inquiry laid the groundwork for the modern disciplines of biology, engineering, and physics. The emphasis on observation and empirical evidence helped to usher in the scientific revolution, transforming the way people understood the world and their place within it. Yet for all his brilliance, Leonardo was often frustrated by the limitations of his time. Many of his inventions remained unrealized, his scientific discoveries unpublished or misunderstood. He was a solitary figure, prone to melancholy and self-doubt, haunted by the knowledge that life was too short to encompass all that he wished to achieve. In his final years, living at the court of King Francis I of France, Leonardo continued to work, to dream, and to teach, surrounded by a small circle of devoted followers. When Leonardo died in 1519, he left behind not only a body of work that would define the Renaissance, but also a legacy of inquiry and innovation that continues to inspire. His vision of a world where art and science are united, where curiosity is boundless, and where the mysteries of nature are there to be explored, remains as relevant today as it was 5 centuries ago. The Renaissance itself would gradually give way to new movements and new ideas, but its spirit endured. The belief in human potential, the commitment to learning, and the celebration of creativity became the cornerstones of Western thought. In every field of endeavor, from medicine and mathematics to architecture and literature, the seeds planted during the Renaissance would bear fruit for generations to come. Leonardo da Vinci, more than any other figure, stands as a symbol of this extraordinary age. His life reminds us that the boundaries of knowledge are always expanding, that the mysteries of the world are there to be uncovered, and that the greatest achievements are born from the marriage of imagination and reason. He reminds us, too, of the power of curiosity, the restless drive to understand, to create, and to leave the world richer than we found it. As we reflect on Leonardo and the Renaissance, we are invited to consider our own capacities for wonder and discovery. In an age of rapid change and unprecedented challenges, the example of Leonardo offers a timeless lesson that the pursuit of knowledge, guided by curiosity and imagination, is the truest path to greatness. It is a legacy that endures not only in the masterpieces that adorn our museums and the inventions that shape our lives, but in the very spirit of inquiry that animates our collective quest for understanding. The Renaissance was not merely a chapter in history, it was a turning point in the human story. It was a moment when the light of reason and creativity broke through the shadows of ignorance, illuminating new pathways of thought and expression. Leonardo da Vinci, with his boundless curiosity and unquenchable thirst for knowledge, stands as one of its brightest beacons. In the centuries since, countless artists, scientists, and thinkers have followed in his footsteps, inspired by his example to push the boundaries of what is possible. The legacy of Leonardo and the Renaissance is not confined to the past. It lives on in every act of creation, every spark of insight, every bold leap into the unknown. To remember Leonardo is to remember the power of the human mind and the enduring value of curiosity and exploration. His life and work challenge us to see the world with fresh eyes, to embrace uncertainty, and to pursue our own questions with courage and determination. In doing so, we honor not only the achievements of the Renaissance, but the limitless potential within each of us to shape the future. In the end, the story of Leonardo and the Renaissance is the story of humanity itself, a story of rebirth, of striving, of reaching for the stars. It is a story that continues to unfold, inviting each new generation to seek, to discover, and to create. And as long as we are moved by the beauty of a painting, the elegance of an idea, or the wonder of the natural world, the spirit of Leonardo and the Renaissance will live on, guiding us ever forward into the light.